Hi, and welcome to Word Problems Day 1. So here we're just going to look at a bunch of verbal statements, and we're going to write them as math expressions. So at the end of today, I can write math expressions from a verbal statement. So we're going to read it, and then we're going to write it. We're going to use the appropriate operations. So addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division is what we're working with right now with these ones. Actually, these ones are just going to end up being addition, subtraction, and multiplication. So write the verbal statement as a math expression. We're just writing the math expression. We're not simplifying it yet. So you look at something like this and you say 8 plus 4. I know that plus is addition, and I know that's the addition sign. So this right here would be 8 plus 4. That's going to be our expression, and we're just going to leave it like that for now. We're working on reading the verbal statements and writing the math expressions. 7 minus 15. I know minus is subtraction. I have a 7. I'm going to subtract 15. So 7 minus 15. And we're just going to leave it like that for now. 15 times x. Notice this is not a number, but it's an x. It's a variable, and that's okay. So we have 15 times x. Now this is where we're going to start wanting to use that dot, especially if we're talking about something with x, because if you look at this and you say 15 and we use the little x, 15 times x, well, this can get confusing real quick. So that's where we're going to want to use that dot. Now, also, if you have a number sitting next to a variable like that and you have multiplication going on, you can absolutely write this as just 15x. When the number is next to the variable like that, it's called a coefficient, and multiplication is implied. So 15x, or you can write it as the 15.x. Let's try to avoid that 15xx right there, because that is going to lead to some issues with recognizing what's going on. The sum. Now sum, this is going to be adding. So anytime you see the word sum, it says the sum of these numbers. And in this particular instance, it's going to be the sum of 10 and n. What's going on in between the 10 and the n is going to be the plus sign. So it's going to be 10 plus n, because we're taking the sum of 10 and n. We want to add them together. The difference between 25 and 12. Difference, we're going to work with subtraction. So start recognizing some of these key words here between 25 and 12. Well, we want to find out what the difference between 25 and 12 is. We're going to subtract them to find out what that difference is. And then the product. Product is implying multiplication. The product of 5 and 6. So we're going to multiply 5 and 6, and that's going to give us our product of 5 and 6. So buzzwords. Sum, start thinking addition. Difference, start thinking subtraction. Product is going to be multiplication. Times, multiplication. Minus, subtraction. Plus, addition. It's important to understand what these words mean. Now, anytime we're dealing with a more than or a less than situation, we want to be careful with order, and this is kind of one of those annoying things. Now, if I were to ask you, what is 5 more than 15? 5 more than 15. Well, what you're probably doing in your head right now is saying, okay, it's going to be 5 more than a number. Well, I'm going to start at 15 and I'm going to add 5. Now, if you look at this, this right here is going to be written. It's kind of backwards, and this is something we're going to kind of have to get used to. 5 more than a number, we're going to start at that number, and we're going to add 5. So it works kind of backwards. 15 plus 5. So in this situation, if we were to look at it, we would say 5 more than 15. We would start at 15, and we'd count up 5, and we'd get to 20. Okay? Now, with addition, it's not going to make a ton of difference, the order that you do it. So 5 plus 15 is the same as 15 plus 5. So that's not going to be a big deal. But once we start working into subtraction, it is going to be increasingly important. So now 12 more than W. I'm taking that 12 more and I'm going to add it to something. So if we start thinking that these are going to end up being a little bit backwards, it's going to be 12 more. We're adding 12 to something, and that something in this situation is W. So it's going to be W plus 12. So with addition, like I was saying, the order does not matter. It's the commutative property, but it's a good practice to get into right now because it will start mattering once we start working our way through subtraction and more complex verbal expressions here. Now, 5 less than 20. 5 less than 20. If I asked you the question and you just had to think about it in your head, okay, hey, what's 5 less than 20? You would start at 20 and you would count back 5. So you would get 15. So this 5 less than 20 is going to be 20 minus 5, and it comes in backwards. Now, this is going to be where the order is incredibly important because 20 minus 5 is 15. However, that is not the same as 5 minus 20 because that's negative 15. So that is not the same. So the order is incredibly important when we're dealing with this. So 5 less than 20, 5 less than a number, we're going to subtract 5 from that number. So it's going to flip-flop the order that you see them. So in this situation right here, 7 less than K, you read the entire statement, you look at that and okay, I see a 7 less. I know that I'm going to subtract off a 7 from the end. And my K is going to be the number that I do subtract it from. So K minus 7. So important to understand that. Now, last piece of the puzzle here is anytime we see a number, you are going to create the number. You get to pick the variable. So you can pick whatever you want. Some popular ones are N or X. You could pick Y or Z. It's up to you. I would avoid S's. I would O's. I would avoid. Other ones that I'd avoid probably L's. You see those kind of look like numbers. An S can look like a 5 pretty easily. An O obviously a 0. And L can look like a 1. So I would avoid some of those that have a little bit of ambiguity to them. But let's just stick to the popular ones for now. Let's just stick to an N or an X, Y or Z. Or even let's just stick to a N or XY. Okay, a number plus 6. So this is where we get to choose a number. Let's just call it N plus 6. N plus 6, a number plus 6. There it is. The difference between a number and 10. The difference, so what operation is going on in between them? Subtraction. A number, let's call our number X. And 10 minus 10. A number, the difference between a number and 10. X minus 10. 100, ooh, here it goes. 100 less than a number. Ooh, we got a couple things going on here. We got our order, the incredibly important order. 100 less than. I know that I'm going to hack off 100 from this number. Now I get to choose what number I want. I'm going to pick Y. So that Y is going to go here. It's going to be Y minus 100. And that's going to be 100 less than a number. And over here, Y more than a number. Now here we have Y is going to be where we're starting. So Y more, I know that I'm going to be adding Y, and now my number, probably going to want to use something different. So let's use A, for instance. A number A, and I have Y more than a number, and that number is going to be A. So we can say A plus Y. Now that can look different for just about everybody, depending on what you chose for your variable there. It could be B plus Y or Z plus Y. So that is your verbal expressions into mathematical expressions. Make sure you're looking for those key words, and I'll just run over some of them real quick with you. When it comes to addition, we want to have plus or increased by, the sum, added to, more than. Anytime you see those, start thinking addition. Subtraction, anytime you see a minus or a decreased by or a minus, we have minus twice, or a difference or subtracted from or by, important to recognize which one that is. And then less than. Multiplication, this is going to be your times, your product, your multiplied by. And then anytime you have a number, you get to pick the variable. And you can stick to just the N or the X or the A or B or Y. It's up to you. Keep the popular ones. Try to avoid the ones that look like numbers. And that is writing verbal statements as math expressions.